running on empty. Dozens of runners collapsed from heat exhaustion in hottest ever London Marathon despite warnings to ditch fancy dress in 74F heat as race organizers run out of water. Dozens of shattered runners had to be stretchered away from the finish line after completing the hottest ever London Marathon today. Many exhausted competitors collapsed to the ground after running the 26.2-mile course in the sweltering heat, while others stood in front of fans as they desperately tried to cool down. The Met Office posted highs of 23.2 C, 73.8 F, beating the previous bests of 22.7 C, 72.8 F. set in 1996. Mobile water stations had to be dispatched to provide runners with water after stations between miles 8 and 10 ran out. Race organizers had previously urged runners to reconsider aiming for personal bests and suggested ditching fancy dress costumes amid the unseasonably warm April weather. It was the hottest London Marathon on record, although it was estimated to be even hotter on the tarmac. Around 4.5 liters of water was distributed per person, the most of any mass participation event in the world, organizers said, adding that water even ran out on miles 8, 9 and 10. Sir Mo Farah broke the British marathon record today but lost his cool after complaining that race stewards were too busy taking pictures of him. They forgot to hand him water. Farah was irritated at not being able to find the right water bottle at 2 drink stations early in the race. At one point he was even seen remonstrating with the motorcyclists traveling alongside the runners. The drink station was confusing, he added. The staff were helpful at the end but at the beginning they were trying to take a picture rather than giving me the drink. I was saying to the people on motorbikes to tell the staff to be a bit helpful. I wasn't wasting energy. I just needed a drink. I had to get it right. Meanwhile, Paula Radcliffe's world record survived as Vivian Cheruiyot timed her run to perfection to win the women's race. Cheruiyot, 34, took advantage of failed attempts by last year's winner Mary Keitany and runner-up Tirunesh Dibaba to break Radcliffe's 15-year-old mark. Once again the conditions told as fierce Dibaba, of Ethiopia, and then Cheruiyot's fellow Kenyan Keitany fell away, allowing the 2016 Olympic 5,000 meters gold medalist to claim victory. Lily Partridge was the first British woman over the line in 8th place. Britain's David Weir won the men's wheelchair race for the 8th time after a thrilling sprint finish. The 38-year-old pipped Switzerland's Marcel Huggin to 2nd place, with Daniel Romanchuk of the USA 3rd. The British Paralympic star, nicknamed the Weirwolf, said it was even better than his victory last year, which he had described as perhaps the best race of his career. Australia's Madison de Rosario won the women's wheelchair race. The first fire crew to arrive at the Grenfell Tower Inferno ran the race, raising more than £41,000 for children affected by the disaster. The team of 9 from Red Watch at North Kensington took on the race, with David Badillo saying it was very emotional for them. It was a really positive thing to do after all that we've been through together, the firefighter of 18 years in the neighborhood said. The money will go to Kids on the Green, a volunteer organization set up in the aftermath of the blaze to support traumatized children. It offers free counseling to survivors and witnesses, as well as activities such as art therapy and entertainment, including discos. Mr. Badillo, 44, said, "We go down there, we've helped them build walls, plastering, we're a very close-knit community. My boxing club was at the bottom of the tower and I also knew some people in the tower, so it was very personal." The emotion came seeing all our community lining the route, especially seeing Kids on the Green and all the green hearts and all the messages of support and their banners. The race was started by the Queen when she pressed a red buzzer from the grounds of Windsor Castle, as 40,000 runners pounded the streets of the capital in sticky conditions. In light of the warm weather, participants were advised to drop their goal times and organizers added more ice, water and run-through shower stations along the 26.2-mile course. Among this year's runners were firefighters who tackled the Grenfell Tower blaze, a police officer stabbed in the London Bridge terror attack and members of the Stephen Lawrence Charitable Trust. The 18-year-old, who was a keen runner, was stabbed by thugs at a bus stop in Eltham, southeast London, 25 years ago today. Journalist Bryony Gordon and plus-size model Jada Cesar completed the 26.2-mile course in nothing but bras, knickers, socks and trainers. The brave pair were running to raise money for Heads Together, the mental health charity set up by the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry, as well as hoping to encourage other curvy women to embrace exercise. Television personality Katie Price, who was raising money for the British Lung Foundation, was forced to quit with a knee injury, and her giant lung costume was carried to the finish line by police 7 hours into the race. She had not trained in the run-up to the race. Price disappeared from the tracker before reappearing on Instagram stories at 6 p.m., eating an ice cream with family. Confirming that Katie had pulled out, her mother Amy shared a congratulatory message, in which she said how proud she felt for the awareness her daughter had raised for lung conditions. "I just wanted to say how proud I am of my daughter Katie for running the London Marathon," Amy said. "She may not have completed it, but she's raised so much awareness. It's been worth it for the British Lung Foundation." In an interview with Heat magazine she said previously, "I haven't gone the distance I did before, because my knees are damaged. But I'd rather save my strength for Marathon Day." This is not the first time the loose women star has attempted the marathon. In 2009 she was helped over the finish line by then-husband Peter Andre after injuring her knee. Catherine Switzer, 71, the woman who defied men-only rules to run the Boston Marathon more than 50 years ago, finished the race in under 5 hours. She made global headlines after a race official infamously tried and failed to stop her running the then all-male Boston Marathon in 1967. Speaking today she said of the race, "Of the 181,000 first-timers who applied, most of them were women. That tells me women are now taking a risk, taking a challenge, and going out there and laying it on the line. That's really healthy and wonderful." Switzer, who won the New York City Marathon in 1974, organized one of the first all-female marathons, in London in 1980. She added, "London has played such a role in women's sport equality because that race went on to get the women's marathon into the Olympic Games, and that changed everything for women's running." Asked if the famous moment felt like half a century ago, the German-born runner said, "Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. I feel like I'm 25, I feel no different when I'm running than I did then. I'm just slower." Switzer, who kissed husband Roger Robinson after finishing, wore the number 261, just as she did in Boston all those years ago. Meanwhile, almost 100 runners lined up to attempt Guinness World Records, dressed variously in suits of armor, as mythical creatures and wearing stilts and ski boots. Rob Pope ran a record time for a runner dressed as a film star, crossing the line dressed as Forrest Gump in just over 2 hours 36 minutes. The 39-year-old, from Liverpool, who has run more than 15,000 miles in an attempt to emulate the character from the 1994 Tom Hanks movie, said, "I can run like the wind blows. Today was unbelievable. I had so many run Forrest run shouts, a couple of beardy men and a couple Jesus, but mostly Forrest Gump." Competitors started in Blackheath, southeast London, running a snaking route along both sides of the Thames, finishing on the Mall near Buckingham Palace. Last year, the event raised £61.5 million for charity, a world record for an annual one-day fundraising event, making the total raised since 1981 around £890 million, organizers said. A record 386,050 people applied for this year's race, almost a third more than last year and the highest number for any marathon in the world. Temperatures today beat the race's previous 1996 record of 22.7 C. The previous warmest races in the capital were in 1996 and 2007, when highs of 22.2 C were recorded. Last year, the event raised £61.5 million for charity, a world record for an annual one-day fundraising event, making the total raised since 1981 around £890 million, organizers said. A record 386,050 people applied for this year's race, almost a third more than last year and the highest number for any marathon in the world.